What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Alto again, and this time after 5 long years, we return with Tanya of Monochromatic Black. Thanks for coming back on today. Also, special guest appearance from the cat in the background. I love it.
Yeah, hey dude, how's it going?
There is no better way to interview a band called Monochromatic Black with the black cat in the background. This just makes way too much sense. I am very happy.
I have two black cats actually. The other one's like up on his perch. He'll probably come down in a minute, but yeah, I gotta have black cats. So.
Fair enough. I'm waiting for it to just move around and like hop in front of the camera and just like
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's funny working at when I used to do interviews in person at concert venues. I used to hate
Yeah.
it when the security or managers or whatever were getting the interview. It would frustrate the hell out of me.
Right.
Pets, photobomb the interview for all I care. I don't
Oh,
care.
I know that's how I am too. I'm like anything with animals, they can get away with anything they want to do.
Exactly,
So.
exactly. But it's a lot has happened since I spoke to all of you at NAMM
Yeah.
2020. A lot of things have changed, I think, to say the least. But
Yeah, that was a
um,
long time ago. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
I know.
crazy.
Like, who would have thought NAMM 2020 the world would take the
I
turns
know.
that it did?
Yeah, like literally 2 months after we saw you at NAMM. That's crazy. Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
it's insane.
I know. But thousands plus interviews later, it's great to have you back on. But
Thank you.
Carnal is the latest single, and I know that you just released the Predacious EP last year, so you've had a
Yeah.
very consistent year. So is Carnal, the new single, is that more or less a continuation of what we heard off the last EP, or is this meant to signify what is to come for Monochromatic Black in the future?
I kind of feel like it's a good jump off from our single from Predacious, Hail the Queen. Kind of has like that crazy, chaotic style that like Eddie likes to write. And then the rest of the EP, it's coming out in June actually. We're gonna have another single out in like I think April. But it's definitely a heavy ass EP. But we got a new guitar player, Pierce. He just joined at like towards the end of like last year. So he kind of has like a new melodic like metalcore kind of sound. So we have a little bit of that on the CP too, which is a little different for us. And we're kind of bringing back like some cleans and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of like half the EP this song represents. So if that makes sense.
And was this always the vision that you had for the sound of Monochromatic Black, or just is this the sound? Oh, there it is. There's the other one.
Oh, that's Ollie. Yeah, it's Ollie and Puma.
Oh my god, I love
It's
it.
so funny.
And now they're merging together to make one black cat, it looks like.
I know. Yeah, hopefully the other. You know what is? One of them's a senior cat, so he gets kind of like mad at the younger cat. So hopefully he doesn't growl or anything in the background. But
Hey,
he gets mad when the baby gets on him. But
let it happen. Let it happen. But was this a
my
sound?
bad.
Was this a sound that you always were shooting for with Monochromatic Black? Was this what you wanted from the very beginning, or did it just turn out that way with bringing a new member on board and so on and so forth?
The kind of Hail the Queen, Carnal, and like Closing the Gates, those singles that we had, that's definitely I feel like kind of like the mono sound, but we kind of had to grow into that. And now with Pierce, like I said, we're kind of going in the direction of like we're like Eddie and him are such good writers, and them combining like Eddie's chaotic style with his more like melodic metalcore is kind of like the new sound that we're gonna go for. So, and I think people are gonna like it because it's a good balance of both. And they're both great writers, so I'm like thankful. And I'm usually pretty picky about cleans on metal. Me personally, I didn't really used to like doing it, but the way Pierce writes, I love it, and I want to do cleans. So yeah, I don't know. That's like the best way to explain it. They're gonna just merge everything. And I think people are gonna be super stoked on it. And yeah, like I said, you'll hear it a little bit on the CP. So
Do you
for
think
sure.
do you think having a new usage of your voice and incorporating different sounds, do you maybe expose a different side of yourself lyrically or vocally when depending on the method in which you sing or scream?
That's a good question, actually. You know what? Yeah, because I mean, most of my lyrics and my content's varied, like from like an angry, frustrated place, and when I write more like cleans and melodic, especially like an actual like clean chorus, it definitely brings up more of like a maybe like a softer side to me, and also maybe like more like passionate, more emotional versus like being frustrated and angry. So yeah, that's a good question, dude. But yeah, I think it definitely brings out like a softer, more emotional part for me for sure.
Is
Definitely.
every song a reflection of your personal experiences or your personal beliefs or your personal life in general, or has music always been more of an escapism where you don't necessarily need or want to bring your personal experiences in it?
It's I think it's a little bit of both, but more on the personal thing, on the personal side, because usually it ends up being that like each EP or each song that I wrote is about what I'm experiencing at that time, and which I kind of like because then it's a good way for me to like reflect on what I went through and hopefully learn from those situations and experiences and stuff like that. Yeah, hopefully that answers that okay.
Yeah, no, it definitely. But does maybe the lyrical ideas in which you want to incorporate, does that influence the music in itself at all as well?
No, because that goes last. So yeah, we kind of like, yeah, the lyrics. I always write the lyrics to the song because like whatever the song is, because Eddie will write first, and then Pierce, and then Ollie, and then how whatever the feeling that I get from the music that they write, then I'll base the lyrics off of that. So yeah.
And I've always known that Eddie was a fantastic
Yeah.
writer. Seeing him play with Painted in Exile back in the day, that was next year. That would be 10 years ago that I saw them play with Scar
No
Symmetry.
way!
Like,
Oh my, what?
yes. So I remember that. I remember it was September 11th, 2016, in which I saw them
Wow.
play. So that was
That's crazy.
one of the best opening acts I've seen. I haven't forgotten that. So I
Oh
wanted to
man,
mention
I
that.
know. I wanted Eddie actually to talk to you today, but he's actually recording some drums right now. So
Well, I mean, takes priority, you know.
yeah.
No,
But yeah, no, Eddie's amazing, man. I mean, Painted in Exile, you know how they were. They were insane. You know, we're still friends with the guys too and everything, and Mark, of course, and everybody. But yeah, Eddie's such a talented writer. He's insane.
Do you think bringing on Pierce from his more melodic side, you having your intense, death metal, deathcore style vocals, and Eddie clearly having more of like the progressive music background as
Yeah.
well with Painted in Exile, and I'm not sure if the other members were in other projects as well, but it seems like you all kind of are able to bring your own mix of different experiences to your sound. Like you have a style that I could definitely like say, oh, if you're a fan of this, you would like Monochromatic Black. If you like this band, you would like Monochromatic Black. But there's definitely is stuff that you have that I wouldn't see in other bands too.
Oh, cool. Thanks, dude.
Yeah. Do you think that works to your advantage in a way? Like
Yeah, I think so because I mean, I think as like I said, they're both really good, strong writers, but they both know how to like write together and in a cohesive manner, which is great. I think it's really hard to find bands that can have strong writers and strong opinions and actually balance that out the right way. And they do it really, really well. And Eddie, with his weird proggy style, kind of like teaches Pierce things, and Pierce will teach Eddie more like metalcore things, and it's just it's just a really cool experience to see, and I love being there for like their writing sessions. I could sit there all day with Pierce and Eddie writing like all day. So
do you think it's better? This is sort of a new question now I'm asking artists, so kind of test driving it with you. Do you think
Sure.
it's better if every member of the band has similar tastes, not necessarily the same favorite band, but similar tastes when writing music together, or is it better for the band if everybody has their own individual tastes?
I think it depends. I think if you have people who can get along right together and with different opinions or different genres that they like, then it works. But if it doesn't and it causes arguments because someone's more like black metal and someone likes more prog and someone likes deathcore, then it's a huge issue. Because I've been in bands in the past where like everybody liked different metal, and it was like always like an argument between the guitar player and the bass player and this one and that one, because it was just they just kept clashing because they wanted to write more like this and they wanted to write more like that. So like I think it just depends on how well you all get along and how what the sound you guys are going for and the balance of it. So I think it just really depends, honestly.
Do you, when it comes to what you're singing about, circling back to the lyrics, depending on what the material is about, if it's more personal or if it's more external, does it resonate with you differently? Does the lyrics themselves change the energy that you put into the song?
Oh man, you're asking good questions, dude. I don't even think this deeply
I'm notorious. for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So repeat it one more time.
Does depending on what you're singing about depend on the energy that you put into the song?
Uh, I guess so. I guess it depends on what I'm writing about. Like Carnal, for instance, like that song came like the lyrics came out and the passion for it and the going from writing to recording it to playing it on stage. It just all was like very intense, and it definitely affected me, the lyrics and stuff like that. But then there's other songs where it's more like whatever I wrote about at that time, it wasn't like that crazy impactful. Might have been like more like something, I don't want to say like not. Oh, guys, they're fighting. Sorry.
Yes, keep it
Guys.
going.
Like, can you see him? He's standing there with a flicking tail.
I've been looking at everything.
Puma, be nice to him, please.
So
I know he gets so grumpy. He's like,
I love it. I love it.
I'm sorry,
If
dude.
they fight again, don't stop it.
Oh my god,
I mean,
dude! It's like, well, like he'll put like Ollie in like a headlock sometimes, and I'm just like, what the heck is that? And Ollie's just sitting there like, who cares, whatever, Just they're just such goofballs.
oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, I don't really know how else to answer that question though. I mean, I guess it depends on how touching or how close the lyrics were to me,
Yeah.
So, but sorry if that's a bad answer. I'm not really sure how else to answer
No
that.
such thing as a bad answer, except for yes or no.
Yeah.
So, but so the idea of like deathcore and the style in which Monochromatic Black, I think one way or another, whether you like the label or not, I think people are just gonna
Yeah, I don't mind
put it
it.
in that category. But I think lately it has been more of a movement than it's ever been lately. I think
Yeah.
like with Lorna Shore and Shadow of Intent and Carnifex on the road, killing it and everything.
Yeah.
Like, what is your take on this current movement? Because the reason why I ask it, take new metal, right? The new metal movement. We all can like look back at those days and see sort of like a fashion associated with it and kind of like have an image that associates with it. And
Right.
now I'm almost kind of seeing that with the age of deathcore, where like, the fashion, there is sort of like a fashion associated with it. There's a type of
Right.
show associated with it. When it is like a 5 package tour with all deathcore bands, there's just a vibe that you don't experience at other show. What is your
Right.
take on this sort of scene right now and being involved with it on your perspective?
I think it's actually pretty cool, and I've been seeing like different. I feel like different people at shows now, and I actually almost feel like metalcore is kind of like taking over more. And I've been going to more metalcore shows just in general, and like it's very interesting. 'Cause it's like you were saying, it's like a different type of crowd at like metalcore versus like deathcore, and like the style and the fashion and just like the personalities and stuff like that. I just think it's super interesting and fascinating. And yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned like the fashion things. Like whenever we think of like MySpace, like deathcore back in the day, and like the emo haircuts and all this stuff. And but yeah, it's interesting though. 'Cause I feel like every show, like if you go to a death metal show, like you know that it's a death metal show by seeing like the certain people that go to that versus the deathcore and the metalcore. And I just think it's interesting. And I think it's really cool because there's so many different metal genres that all different age groups, different types of people can go to. And actually, I feel like all in general too, like all of them are super welcoming though. Like at the end of the day, which is really awesome too. But it's it's definitely really interesting and cool to see.
Yep,
for,
and
for sure.
We all know what like the most dangerous person in the mosh pit's gonna look like.
Yeah,
I've always
that
said
too, yeah.
I've always said it's whoever looks like Peter Parker with gauges and has a backpack with clearly nothing in it.
I know.
Pit. Those are the most dangerous ones who are doing the kung fu in the pit. When it comes to your live presence, though, is that something you can necessarily practice? Because I feel like that there is a right way to be the front figure of the band. So when it comes to fronting a band, is there an art to stage presence where you can necessarily practice that, or do you just have to play more and more and more shows till it eventually just kind of falls into place?
So that's actually a cool question because I actually had to start practicing not being crazy on stage. So my stage presence, I used to be all over the stage, used to jump around, like headbang, just doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And now actually on this past tour that we did with Victims, 156 Silence, and Heavy Hitter, I actually have been toning it down now and trying to be more of like standing and like I've been having to like practice actually standing in one place and kind of being more like interactive directly with the crowd versus just jumping all over the stage like a maniac, and then like, moving to this side, moving to that side, just being more like I guess like direct. Because for me, I used to not really like look at the audience and just kind of be in my own like kind of world doing whatever. So now I've been practicing like actually like making sure I got to make eye contact. I got to be more like, hey, what's going on? So I don't know if everybody does that, but I guess for me, I had to learn how to practice that because I was just used to being in my own world, doing whatever the fuck I wanted.
Yeah.
And now I've been like trying to like I said, tone it back more so I could be more direct with the audience and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I've asked this question before with a lot of other artists, including
Right.
in this genre, and you're like the first to answer that. Like that, I've had to learn to tone it down a little bit because
Yeah.
I feel like with this genre, you have to go all out and go all in. So, is there a reason why? Is it just part of the show in a way? Because I think there is something. There is something intimidating about a front man or a front woman who isn't moving that much on stage. Best example I could think of is John Tardy from Obituary. He's pretty static the whole time on that stage, but there's something very intimidating about it. So I'm just.
So I guess, as a band, we kind of discussed it. Like just kind of like, also I'm small too, so that we were kind of discussing like I need like a stage box now because I'm too short. So that's like one thing. So they kind of like we kind of were looking and watching all these different bands. We have a manager now too, so he was saying like looking at like Signs of the Swarm and like Chelsea Grin, like they are very intimidating by like just standing in the one spot and just being really like almost like a conductor of the audience. You know what I mean? You could still be really firm and like hard and heavy, but just being more like I guess because it's like more intense because you're being more direct with the audience versus just like running around, whatever. I mean, I love that too. But I don't know. We just kind of all discussed it as a band. We were kind of like, let's focus more on that, and I could focus more on like the vocals and everything like that, and just more interaction with the crowd in general. That's what we could kind of discuss as a band and with our manager and stuff like that. So it's kind of different for us, but I think it's a good thing.
Does crowd interaction is that also something that you have to practice? Like, do you think because there are we see there is such a thing as people skills or being people
Right.
person. Does people skills really apply when you're interacting with a crowd on stage surrounded by 1,000 riffs?
I mean, I guess so, but I mean, if you're naturally social though, I feel like it's not a big deal. Like for me, like I love talking with our fans and love hanging out, like the merch and when I'm on stage and stuff like that. So for me, like that's not something I need to, I guess, think about. I just just you just kind of do it. But I mean, like for instance, like my bass player Ollie, he's super super shy and like kind of antisocial. So he's had to learn to like practice like talking with more people and like taking photos and stuff like that. And Pierce, our guitar player, he's really young. He's gonna be 21 actually.
Oh, wow.
But he like was very very shy. So like they had to kind of practice like actually being around fans and being like a little overwhelmed and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Do you so in between, because you have a technical side that you have to focus on between
Yeah.
breathing and all of your exercises vocally. You have
Yeah.
lyrics to remember. You have crowd interaction and stage presence and all this. So it almost seems like you're forced to multitask. Like you have to be a
Oh, yeah.
natural multitasker.
Oh, yeah.
If you can't multitask, do you advise people to not pursue this?
No, I wouldn't say that because I mean, I've met some people that I would never think would be like a vocalist on stage. Like they're super super quiet. Like you would never even think like wow, and they're like a totally different person on stage. I think it just depends on you releasing like this inner self that you may have and may not show like on the daily, but you could do it on stage as like almost like a performance, I guess. You know what I mean? So I guess it just depends, I guess. So
And with the vote, because I feel like Monochromatic Black has a great live energy when I listen to the music. I feel like I'm watching you live. That's how hard it hits.
Oh,
now,
cool.
now, I've been to plenty of recording studios, both very high-end recording studios and bedroom basement studios, but they all have one thing in common is that they seem to be a very static, very controlled environment. Like the live energy that you bring on stage, I feel like is impossible to replicate in a setting like that. So when you are in a vocal booth in a studio, how do you capture that energy? Do you almost just have to go somewhere else in your mind when you hit record and track the vocals?
Yeah, kind of, and I try so hard. Like I'm not one of the when I'm in the recording studio, like I have it on like a stand like this. Like I don't hold the microphone. 'Cause if I did, I'd probably wail it everywhere. But yeah, definitely in my mind, I'm kind of like I usually picture myself being on stage as I'm doing it, just like to get that amount of intensity just in my head instead, though, like you said. So yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah, because I've spoken to vocalists and they would tell me that like a vocal booth, it's almost like torturous to be in there sometimes.
It's kind of like it's weird because it's like you're isolated obviously, and then it's kind of like you're making sure you're screaming everything perfect, of course, or singing everything perfect, so it kind of like takes you out of like maybe the more raw like fun of it, I guess, for me. So that's why like I just kind of close my eyes and I'm just like just like picturing me live on stage just like screaming it. So
And because also, you'll probably have to take multiple takes of the same song. So
Yeah.
when you work on a song for a long period of time or take multiple takes,
Right.
does it make it harder to sort of maintain the emotion when you have to do it all times? Because that inspiration is sometimes like lightning.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. But then sometimes doing it over and over again, you get mad and frustrated, and then that makes you, scream more, like harder, like get the take finally, So like more intensity just because you're frustrated. So
Yeah.
So it's good and bad.
And then replicating that emotion on stage too. I mean, the moment
Yeah.
when you first came up with it is not going to be there when you play it a couple weeks later. So, is it a similar mind frame when you're replicating that song on stage, or is it different just because of the setting?
What you mean, like the intensity of
Yeah.
playing live, like the same thing every day, like on
Yeah.
tour? You mean, or?
Yeah. That's what I meant. If the
Oh yeah, yeah. No, no. For me, I don't know, dude. When I'm on stage, it's like I mean, I never get sick of playing the set. I never get sick of playing live. Like so that like, like that excitement and intensity is like always like 110% because I love playing so much. I love like playing live and playing shows is like the best part about being in a band. Like I would never ever trade it for anything else in the world, like ever. So it's just there's nothing like it at all. It's just amazing.
No,
So,
it definitely isn't. And
yeah.
and the final question I wanted to ask
Sure.
you is sort of like it's sort of like similar to what we talked about before, the whole deathcore scene and everything like that. But what is your take on the scene? Because it almost seems like metal is really taking off. I've heard a lot of people say from my times doing this, like we don't have any arena headlining bands anymore. Or we don't, but like Bad Omens took off, Spirit Box
Yeah.
took off, Sleep Token took
Yeah.
off, and now you're seeing really like Lorna Shore is blowing up.
Yep.
Peeling Flesh is causing a lot of like intensity now too. Like a lot of people are getting really into them. It just seems like that there's a new band more and more people are getting obsessed with, whether it is something that lasts for 15 minutes of fame or something that
Right.
carries on a legacy of its own.
So I think it's just honestly, dude, like with like the internet, like it's just people are getting access that maybe they wouldn't have listened to metal before by just seeing like a short clip that went viral and now they're like, well, let me check this out. Or bands like Sleep Token that have like really awesome cleans, but they have like the screams mixed in and people can kind of like that never would have listened to metal can like slowly integrate now and like have access to different bands. And there's like I said, there's so many different genres of metal, dude. So it's like all these people that may not have listened to it can have a different genre that they can slowly get into that and then maybe get into like other genres now and heavier stuff and heavier or I don't know. I think just with the internet, man, it just has like totally changed the game. And with what is it like TikTok? I don't really use TikTok, but like TikTok and Instagram Shorts and all those things, like yeah, just people can get access to all these different genres that would have never had that access before, and that's why these bands are blowing up, and it's fucking sick because it's like metal is not an easy genre to play or to write and to do on stage. So it's awesome that like all these musicians are like getting kind of like the praise that they deserve, that more like widespread audience. So I think it's awesome because it's about damn time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward though to see, because a lot of nostalgia has been coming back too. Warped Tour is coming back and people are
I
loving
know,
that.
yeah.
And like the When We Were Young festival and the Sick New World festival, like I'm looking forward to the day where like When We Were Young festival is going to have to be headlined by like Bad Omens and Turnstile and Spirit Box and Sleep Token and like have like Lorna Shore and Shadow of Intent and Monochromatic
Yeah.
Black on it.
Yeah, that'd be freaking awesome, dude. Yeah, there's Warped Tour, and then I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's just so many. And then
Manfest.
who was on? Wasn't Knocked Loose was on like TV and everything on
Yep.
like Jimmy Kimmel, which is like crazy.
Yeah, with Poppy.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
Yeah, yeah, it's insane. It's crazy.
Yep, and celebrities are like really into metal now too.
Yeah,
which is
yeah, it's
awesome.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today and for coming back on. I still can't believe it's been 5 years since we last
I know,
spoke.
dude. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, dude.
Anytime,
So it's always
anytime.
awesome talking to
Yeah,
you.
and the furry guests were just
I
the
know.
chef's kiss on this interview. I love it. And
I saw
who-
Ollie licking his belly before. I'm like, oh my god.
I love it. I love it. I couldn't get enough of it. Which cat was it that just like sat down in the corner and just started looking
Oh,
up?
right here?
Yeah.
That was Ollie, the baby one. He's attached at the hip to me. He's sitting like right next to me in he has like a little cat like castle thing he sits in. So he's everywhere I go he's got to be near me. When I'm brushing my teeth, whatever, he's like right on my feet. Like
Yep,
so.
that's the story of
Yeah.
the cats. But I love it. I love it.
Thanks, dude.
Yep. Just so, what else could we be expecting from Monochromatic Black in the near future? If you are allowed to say at this moment, I know that there's probably going to be some awesome stuff happening soon.
Yeah, we have a new single coming out the first week of April. So another single, another video that's going to be part of the EP. And we're actually going to be taking the pre-orders for the album then too, which is awesome. And then the EP will be out in June. And we have an awesome 5-week full US tour we are opening for. We cannot wait to share the details. They told us in the beginning of March they're going to let us announce it. So, but yeah, I can't wait for the fans to see that. And on that tour, it's 5 weeks. So we'll finally be hitting the West Coast. I feel bad as we haven't been able to play out there. So I'm very excited for all of our fans to see us there. And
Is
yeah,
there
that's
gonna
pretty
be-
much it. And then, and then new album next year. So yeah.
Can you say if there's going to be a New York City date? So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
okay, because
Yeah.
you'll be the hometown heroes of the tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Everybody, we are here with Monochromatic Black. New stuff coming soon. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.
Bye.